Guys, Jonathan here, and today we're going to take a look at every single LEGO Stranger Things minifigure that's ever been made. The first ones came out in 2019 with the original upside-down buyer's house. Then we got Barb for San Diego Comic-Con, and we got a whole new cast and crew of characters in the 2026 Creel House. So there's a lot to break down and get into as far as the history of LEGO Stranger Things goes, so let's get right into it. Alright, we'll start things off with Mike, and of course on the left we have the original Mike from Season 1 in the set that came out in 2019, and on the right we have Mike from the more recent set in 2026 from the Creel House. For all of the figures that appeared in the first set, we'll do comparisons like this, and then we'll get to the figures that are only in the 2026 and all of that. You'll see as we go along. Anyways, the original Mike, we have to remember that in 2019, the mid-sized legs were actually new. So these are short legs that, of course, can be posed, which was revolutionary at the time, and in a lot of ways are still really, really great. Now, both figures are representing different eras of the character, but I do think that the first one from 2019 is just a better representation of Mike overall. I think that the likeness, if we lift up the hair, looks a lot more like Finn Wolfhard, and of course we can flip both heads around, and he does have alternate expressions on both sides. I think both minifigs do represent Finn's likeness very well. There's just something about that first one that I think really, really shines, and I like it a lot. Up next, we have Lucas, and I think both of his minifigs are really strong as well. Of course, the original having those mid-sized legs, and the new one being taller, because, you know, all of the kids have grown up. And he's got a new hairpiece here, which is pretty nice. I like it quite a bit. We've got the squawk torso there in the Creel House version, but that original torso is just way more detailed. Honestly, that original torso would work pretty well for Season 1 Nancy as well, but regardless, both figures are really nice. The new one does have a reversible head, whereas the old one does not. And that's one place where I feel the old one actually wasn't so great. How they did the bandana, kind of making it like a hair combo, meant that he couldn't have a reversible side to the head, and he was one of the only figures in that first set that didn't have that. So that was a little bit of a bummer back in the day, but honestly, it's still a really nice figure, and I think both are great representations. Here we have Will Byers, and I love seeing these two figures side by side because it's such a great representation of how far Will has come as a character. You know, we've seen him as a scared little kid, and now we've seen him with his superpowers, which is so cool. Now, I've seen a lot of people talking about how they don't like the new Will minifigure and they don't think it's accurate. I don't know, I think it looks pretty good if you ask me. I like it quite a bit. Anyways, I do think that the original one is still superior, just the torso has more detail to it. I really like the folds and lines in his outer jacket there, whereas the new one is just kind of clean cut. It's not to say it's not accurate, don't get me wrong, it's just I think that that original one had a lot more depth to it. We also had reversible head on the original one, which we do have on the new one as well. I do have to say though that I think even the reversible head, like if you just put this head on this figure now would be okay, but once again, I actually do like the Will figure quite a bit. I don't really have any complaints with it, but if you do, let me know in the comments. Now here we have 11, which is probably one of the biggest character changes in design overall, because the original 11 had the wig that you could take off, and then of course she's just the bald 11 like we see in the show, but she did have this very unique pink skirt piece that went over those mid-sized legs, and of course she came with the 1x1 Eggo piece, which is really, really awesome, and the new 11 actually has the doll molded legs, which look really, really great. You got the red up top there. Her outfit in the episodes is a little bit wacky to begin with, but it does translate to LEGO well. The original actually does not have a reversible head since you are meant to show her without the wig, but the new one does have a reversible head with an angry face on one side and a little bit more of a calm face on the other. I think this face looks a lot more like Millie Bobby Brown than the other side, but overall both are very nice representations of the character. Here we have Dustin, and I think that the original Dustin minifigure is one of the best in the entire Stranger Things collection. Honestly, of all the minifigs in my collection, I think that this one gets the actor's likeness the closest of almost anybody, and if we lift up that hat hairpiece, it's just so great how they got his likeness, honestly on both sides, but the other side with the open mouth is definitely better. While I've got them flipped around though, there's what the new minifigure looks like with the head flipped around, and while I do really like the new minifigure, don't don't get me wrong. The original just set the bar so high that it's honestly hard to even compete with. He does have his little compass accessory there, which is pretty cool. Good reference to Season 1. And I am amazed that the 2026 version says the word hell on the cover. You know, obviously it's accurate to the show, don't get me wrong. I'm just very surprised that LEGO actually went with that design. Of course, it is show accurate, but it works out great. The hat is a great piece that was actually invented for Dustin back in 2019, and of course they've saved it now. I guess brought it back is maybe the better way to put it, but it does have a new color, so I wonder if it actually is the same mold, or they had to remake it after all these years. Because I don't think it was ever used again other than this figure and now this one. But regardless, both are really great minifigs and fan favorites for sure. The Demogorgon is another one of the absolute best minifigures of this entire collection. This was exclusive to the 2019 Upside Down set, and he has the really cool legs, which are kind of used on like a lot of Beast and Monster minifigures, particularly in the CMFs, but it's really, really awesome. He does have this exclusive headpiece, and when I recently reviewed the Upside Down set, people are like, well, this piece was used again in Botanicals, and while that is true, it wasn't used with the Demogorgon print, so when I said that in that video, what I mean is this specific piece is exclusive to this set with the Demogorgon mouth print, but you can lift that off and then you can see it with the closed mouth, which is just incredibly cool and made for one of the best minifigures ever. Crazy enough, this was actually also offered as a keychain, which a lot of people don't know. I have an original keychain on the tag, which is really, really cool to have after all these years, because I am going for a complete LEGO Stranger Things collection, and so far, I've got them all. That being said, let's keep moving on. Up next, we have a figure you don't see too often, and that's Barb. The reason you don't see this one very often is because this minifigure was actually a San Diego Comic-Con exclusive back in 2019 at the same time that the set came out. So it's an incredibly rare figure all this time later, and it actually has an exclusive head, torso, and leg print, making it a figure that you can't just go out and buy in stores. And on today's market, especially with the popularity of Stranger Things Season 5 and the finale, this figure is now going for over $700, which is absolutely crazy. It is a really great minifig, don't get me wrong, but $700 for one minifig is always going to be expensive, and Barb will always remain the most expensive minifigure because of her scarcity. It's thought that only 1,500 of these were ever made, and I'm very, very grateful to have one here in my collection. Okay, here we have Hopper, who might be the biggest minifigure downgrade of any of them. The original Hopper from the first set was so great. You know, he had his police hat there, great exclusive torso, and a semi-exclusive head print. The reason I say semi-exclusive is the head was also used on Red Guardian from Black Widow, but that set was supposed to be a Comic-Con exclusive set, then got released to Amazon, so technically it's kinda rare-ish. It's not exclusive, but you get why I'm saying, you know, with air quotations. Anyways, the new Hopper came in the GWP of the Squawk radio station for the Stranger Things Creel House. So if you got the Creel House when it first came out, you would get this Hopper, and it's not made of any exclusive parts. Like, in fact, when we flip the head around, you can see it's just Loki's head from Marvel. And then he's got just that beard piece, a blue hat, and this torso that was used on two other figures, including the Johnny Thunder style character from the Arctic Train set. So overall, not an exclusive figure in any stretch of the imagination. Still cool, I guess, if you didn't get the original Hopper, but yeah, the original is way better in literally every way, shape, and form. The same thing can be said for Joyce. The original had an exclusive head and torso to that set, whereas the new one uses the Black Widow head as well as a Harry Potter style torso. They do have the same hairpiece, which works just as well, but yeah, that original is miles better in every stretch of the imagination. They got Winona Ryder's likeness into LEGO perfectly, and I think it's one of the most accurate minifigs we got from Stranger Things. I also love the Will the Wise drawing from Season 1. Really nice callback on that printed piece. And I guess I'll show you that, you know, the head is reversible, but it's certainly nothing you've never seen before. So I like this figure a little bit better than Hopper because at least it looks a little bit more like Winona Ryder than, you know, the other one looks like David Harbour, but still, Yeah, the original is way better in every way. So in the Creel house, we get Mr. Whatsit and Holly. Both are really great minifigs to help build out the Creel house character crew. And yeah, for Mr. Whatsit, it's kind of interesting because he's got that blonde hair with the Superman S curl. And this is the first time we've ever gotten this piece in this color. But what's fascinating is we got Superman earlier in 2025, and he didn't even get his own hairpiece, so that's interesting. But Mr. Whatsit has a new hairpiece, new head, and new torso, and of course the little pocket watch there that goes in his hand. Little bit of back printing, but no reversible head. Holly, on the other hand, has so many new parts, it's crazy. So, of course, we get this new hairpiece here, which has the, you know, double pigtails around the front. She also has a reversible head with a scared face on the other side, and a short yellow cape, which we've pretty much only seen on Robin from DC, if I'm not mistaken. We can lift that cape up to see that she's got a great print on the back of the torso that has the Boy Scout, like, bandana thing there with the logo, and around front, you've got the little Boy Scout pin, and even the figure from D&D that Mike makes for her, which is really cool. She also has this new skirt piece in a blue color that debuts on this figure, and she also has the kaleidoscope she uses in the Season 5 episode, so all around, it's a really awesome minifig, and one of the most detailed ones in the entire Stranger Things lineup. Now we have Max, who of course is in her Season 5 attire, and this is a great minifig all around. She has a brand new torso with great print detailing and a reversible head. So many figures here do have, and I think this looks a lot like Sadie Sink. I think the hair is a perfect choice, the torso detail is really great, and I think this is one of the stronger minifigs from the Creel house overall. Just a great inclusion and such an awesome character. Now we have Steve and Robin, and unfortunately, I don't think that either of these figures really hold up. Now, don't get me wrong, both torsos are very accurate to what we see in Stranger Things 5, but at the end of the day, the heads are reused. Like, Robin's head is from Captain Marvel. It is reversible, so that's kind of nice. And I think Steve's head was used somewhere else. I can't quite place it, but I'm pretty sure it's not exclusive to Steve. But regardless, I don't really think Steve's hairpiece works all that well. I think it looks a little bit too cartoony for what they were trying to go for. I get it, I just think it's a little too cartoony. And Robin's hairpiece works well, but, you know, with just a new torso piece, it is what it is. But I do like that Robin comes with the brick as her accessory, because, you know, she throws the brick through the window of the Creel house to get in, so that was a nice touch, but overall, yeah, just a little lackluster here, I think. And then we have Jonathan and Nancy. Jonathan, I think, feels really phoned in, which is a shame because he's my name twin, but they just used this regular Star Wars head that's been used on so many troopers and stuff, and all he got was a new torso, which, while nice, is probably going to get used on somebody else at some point, just because it's so generic. So, you know, Jonathan doesn't really bring much exclusivity to the table, whereas with Nancy, she's got that great brown hairpiece. I don't know if it's exclusive, but it's the first time I've seen it in a set, so that's cool. Then we can lift that up and see she's got a double-sided head, which I'm pretty sure is new to this set, which is nice. And the torso is very accurate to the show, but overall, I just don't think these ones are as exciting as some of the other characters across the Stranger Things theme. And finally, what a lot of people might consider the best minifig in the lineup, we have Vecna. This is such a fun figure. He does have arm printing, hip printing, leg printing, which is the only figure in the entire Stranger Things lineup that can make that claim. He also has an exclusive new left hand piece that looks really good for his claw, and just the level of detail that went into this one is incredibly cool. Of course, he does come in the Creel house too, but overall, I think that this is absolutely remarkable and looks so, so great. So with that, we'll go ahead and round out the video and call it a day. Alright guys, let me know how many of these minifigs you have and which one you think is the actual best of them all. I'd love to hear what you guys think, so be sure to hit like and subscribe, let me know down in the comments, and I'll see you guys on the next video.